The morning the CEO arranged her employee's blind date, she had no idea she was arranging her own reckoning. The sun had barely risen over the glass towers of the city when Arav Mehta stood in his small kitchen, carefully cutting strawberries into neat halves for his 8-year-old daughter's lunchbox. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains of his apartment, painting golden rectangles on the worn wooden table. The world outside buzzed with ambition and deadlines, but inside that modest home, everything revolved around one small girl and the father who had rebuilt his life around her. Before we step further into this story of quiet sacrifices and unexpected turns, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whisper Tales 3 if you believe in kindness and second chances. Stories like this remind us that sometimes life circles back in the most beautiful ways. Arav had once been a dreamer with big plans and an even bigger heart, but life had a way of reshaping dreams. 8 years ago, when his wife passed away unexpectedly after a brief illness, he was left holding a hospital discharge file in one hand and a newborn in the other. He had promised himself that day, beneath the harsh white hospital lights, that his daughter Kiara would never feel the absence of love, even if she felt the absence of a mother. Balancing fatherhood and a demanding job as a mid-level operations manager at Luminary Tech was never easy. Arav woke up before sunrise, prepared breakfast, dropped Kiara at school, and reached the office just in time for morning briefings. His colleagues often saw him as quiet and reserved, unaware that his silence was filled with grocery lists, school projects, and pediatric appointments. Promotions came and went. Networking dinners were politely declined. Office parties were skipped. Every decision he made was filtered through one question: will this help Kiara? At the top of Luminary Tech stood CEO Anika Rao, a woman known in business magazines as the Iron Architect. She had built the company from a struggling startup into a multi-million-dollar empire. Her days were filled with board meetings, investor calls, and media appearances. Efficiency was her religion, discipline her shield. She believed that emotions had no place in boardrooms, and personal lives should never interfere with professional growth. One afternoon, during a routine performance review meeting, Anika noticed something unusual in Arav's file. His numbers were impressive, his team turnover the lowest in the department, and his crisis management skills exceptional. Yet, he had declined 2 promotions over the past 3 years. Curious, she asked HR for more context and learned about his life as a single father. For the first time in a long while, something stirred in her beyond quarterly targets. Anika had grown up watching her own father raise her alone after her mother left. She remembered the tired lines on his face, the way he would attend school plays straight from construction sites, dust still clinging to his shirt. She had buried those memories beneath years of ambition, but seeing Arav's story in black and white brought them back in vivid color. Impulsively, perhaps foolishly, Anika decided to intervene. She instructed HR to arrange a blind date for Arav, under the guise of a company-sponsored well-being initiative. She justified it as employee support, but deep down, it was something more personal. She told herself that someone like him deserved companionship, someone who understood responsibility and resilience. Arav resisted at first. The idea of a blind date felt foreign and uncomfortable. His world had shrunk to office corridors and school hallways. But Kiara, wise beyond her years, had once asked him why he never smiled the way other parents did at school events. That question lingered in his heart. After a long pause and quiet persuasion from HR, he agreed. The date was scheduled for a bright Saturday afternoon at a quiet rooftop cafe overlooking the city park. The sky was a soft, endless blue, and children's laughter floated up from below. Arav arrived early, wearing his only tailored blazer, hands slightly trembling as he adjusted his watch. He felt like a young man again, uncertain and hopeful in equal measure. Anika had not intended to be the woman at that table. She had simply wanted to observe from a distance, to ensure everything went smoothly. But as the day approached, a strange restlessness took hold of her. She realized she had arranged a chance at happiness for someone else while denying herself any. On a sudden impulse, she canceled the original setup and took the reservation under her own name. When Arav looked up and saw Anika walking toward him in a simple pastel dress instead of her usual sharp business suits, Time seemed to falter. The CEO who commanded boardrooms now looked almost vulnerable in the daylight. Shock flickered across his face, followed by confusion, and then something softer, understanding. The afternoon unfolded with cautious honesty. They spoke not as CEO and employee, but as two people shaped by loss and responsibility. Arav spoke of sleepless nights with a colicky infant, of learning to braid hair from online tutorials, of cheering the loudest at school sports days. Annika shared memories of her father's sacrifices, of how she had built walls around herself to avoid ever depending on anyone again. As the sun climbed higher, casting warm light across the table, both of them realized how much they had mistaken strength for solitude. Arav had believed that asking for help meant failing as a father. Annika had believed that love would distract her from ambition. Yet here they were, discovering that resilience could be shared. The real challenge came in the days that followed. Office gossip began to swirl. Some questioned Arav's integrity, whispering about favoritism. Others scrutinized Annika's professionalism. The board expressed subtle concerns about optics. Both of them faced the risk of losing credibility in the very spaces they had worked so hard to earn. Arav considered stepping back, even requesting a transfer. He could not bear the thought of his relationship with Kiara being overshadowed by scandal. Annika, too, faced sleepless nights, wondering if she had compromised her position. But for the first time in her career, she chose transparency over silence. She addressed the board directly, clarifying boundaries and reaffirming merit-based policies. Arav's past achievements spoke louder than rumors ever could. Slowly, the noise faded. What remained was something quieter and stronger. Kiara met Annika on a sunny afternoon at the same park beneath the cafe. The little girl studied her with curious eyes before slipping her small hand into Annika's. In that simple gesture, years of guarded hearts began to heal. Annika started leaving the office before sunset once a week. Arav began accepting new responsibilities at work, no longer afraid of imbalance. They learned that partnership was not about replacing what was lost, but about honoring it while building something new. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps stories like these reach more people who need a reminder that life can surprise us in the brightest daylight. And before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe second chances arrive when we least expect them? As the story closes, imagine a rooftop cafe bathed in afternoon sun, 2 cups of coffee growing cold while 2 guarded souls rediscover warmth. Sometimes the person arranging happiness for others is the one who needs it most. And sometimes the bravest decision isn't building an empire. It's allowing someone to walk beside you while you do.